Welcome in, listener. You're listening to a segment from the Slump Buster podcast with Juju and Dre. Find the full episode on Spotify, iTunes, the Google Play Store, or our YouTube channel. Enjoy. So we're going to talk about a big fight this week, but we saw a big Twitter fight this week as well. So our favorite friend of the show, best Twitter follow, I would say, aside from Antonio Brown, is going to be Kevin Durant. Well, Kevin Durant and former teammate Kendrick Perkins had a little back and forth. So it all started because Kendrick Perkins was just throwing out a simple tweet about what he was going to do on SportsCenter that night. He was like, I'm going to talk about why I believe that Russell Westbrook is the best player to ever put on Oklahoma City Thunder jersey. He is Mr. Thunder. And then I believe Mark D'Amico, he's a Celtics beat writer, if I've read this right. He responded, yeah, he put together the best career with that organization, but he's definitely not the best player to ever put on a jersey, which, I mean, I get. I'll give him that. And Kevin Durant is, of course, who's gained reference in that situation. Kendrick Perkins responded, hey, Kev left the door open and Russ walked right in. D'Amico responded, I think Russ walked right in the door called the second round of the playoffs 3 straight times. Accurate. Perkins, KD lost in the second round without Russ when I was there. So what's that mean? And this is where things got interesting because Kevin Durant, with a kamikaze attack, just threw in there, yeah, and our starting center, Kendrick Perkins, averaged a whopping 2 and 3 during that series. You played hard, though, champ. Lol. That lol for emphasis there. Kendrick Perkins, facts on the averages and facts on the champ part 2, because he's still holding on to the Celtics 2008 run, like I am. Mm-hmm. But then he came with something a little bit harder. He peppered in there the only natural comeback you can always throw at Kevin Durant. Boy, stop. You did the weakest move in NBA history, up on a team 3-1 in the Western Conference Finals, and then go join them the following season. Heart of a champion right there. Am I right? Am I right? Just to clarify. Kevin Durant sent a gif of a sloth yawning, and that was that. So, who won?
I mean, I think Kevin Durant, right, had the better statistic, right? And the better point is that Kendrick Perkins was garbage when he was on those Oklahoma City teams at that point. But Kendrick Perkins, he was sort of past his prime already. Everybody already knew that. But, I mean, I just think this shows that Kevin Durant is always going to go down in history as making the weakest basketball move that you could, which is joining a 73-9 team.
Yeah, it's not just weak because it's the 73 and team. It's the team that knocked you out of the playoffs the previous year. That is why I am always just going to remember that about Kevin Durant. And it's not just sour grapes because he picked the Warriors over my Celtics that offseason. Granted, a little bit, just a slight bit. I mean, we sent Tom Brady to go pick him up and he didn't even go for it. But oh well. Here's my thing. I don't think that Kendrick Perkins was necessarily wrong in the initial statement on what this was about. Is Russell Westbrook Mr. Thunder? Yeah. I mean, I think when you think about those two players, Kevin Durant and Russell Westbrook, what they meant for the Thunder organization specifically, you got to give it a Russ. The triple-double machine. He was one of the most exciting players. I don't know if you saw that tribute video that they made for him in his first game back in OKC, but you can tell those fans really loved him. Westbrook really loved the OKC Thunder organization, and it's a shame that team never pulled down a Gloria O'Brien trophy. When it comes to Kevin Durant, now that I'm thinking about his career, is he more a Warrior than he is a Thunder? Or is he just more a Kevin Durant, an enigma?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's sort of just a Kevin Durant because that was the thing is when he was with OKC, everybody still thinks of OKC as Russell Westbrook's team, not so much Kevin Durant. And that's due to Russell Westbrook's loyalty, right? Like he stayed there after Kevin Durant was gone. He stayed there after James Harden was gone. He even recruited Paul George to go over there. He recruited Paul George to stay there for a year. Unfortunately, things fell apart, and I think that was the organization's choice was, hey, yeah, it's about time that we blow this thing up, right, and try to start everything. But so Oklahoma City, that you don't really think of Kevin Durant. And then when I think of the Warriors, I don't think of Kevin Durant either. And granted, Kevin Durant probably was the most crucial piece to the Warriors being able to win those 2 championships. I mean, even in this championships, that series that Kevin Durant got hurt, like you could tell those 16 minutes that he was on the court when they were playing against the Raptors, Kevin Durant was unstoppable. And I want to say that he scored like a point for every single minute that he was out there or something like that. So obviously Kevin Durant had a huge impact when it comes to the Warriors, but I think people still think of that as the big threes team, right? Like the Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, and Draymond Green's team. And Kevin also never really meshed as well with those guys either. Like, even down to the point where you had one of his own players calling him the B word in their final season.
Yeah, Draymond didn't really mess around with that one. And it's funny that so he drew that kind of vitriol from Draymond during that particular game. And now he's getting it from KP in this little Twitter exchange. And I think it just, when you really break down, how do other NBA players look at Kevin Durant? I know everyone likes to play these platitudes like, oh, he's one of the best scorers of all time. He's a dynamic shooter. But I think deep down, and everyone's like hard in their like inner like gut feeling when they think about Kevin Durant, they always just think about this because it didn't take Kendrick Perkins but a second to throw out that 73-9 Warriors free agency move. I mean, that was just the easiest comeback that he had lined up in his back pocket. And I think because this isn't the first NBA player to come at Kevin Durant and say, yeah, that was weak. Yeah, that was weak. I would never do that. That's dumb. LeBron did this, but even he wasn't as bad. We don't consider that Heat team in the same category as the Warriors. I think that's just something he has to live with. And you can tell Kevin's just bored being on the bench, injured, not playing, because I think when Kevin's on his best is when he could stay off his phone and just be on the court.
No, I definitely think you're 100% correct on all of those points. And honestly, like, Kevin Durant is almost the professional athlete version of a bandwagoner in a sense, right? Like, he joined the bandwagon and everybody hates bandwagon fans, right? All of a sudden you had all these Warriors fans just because they were winning championships and they got Steph Curry. Same thing has happened with the Patriots, right? You get all these bandwagon fans. And that's essentially what Kevin Durant did is, hey, where's the best team? I'm going to go join them. Now, since I think he started, or at least trying to sort of redefine himself, saying, hey, I'm going to go wherever I want to go, going to Brooklyn. But people still will, like you said, will always remember hey, he just joined the bandwagon and just did the weakest move possible, right, to form a crazy, ridiculous super team, which I've always argued that the super team era sort of started with the Chris Bosh, Dwayne Wade, and LeBron James team up, but that just took it to a whole nother level that was despicable in a lot of people's eyes.
I mean, because what stands out about the Miami Heat team is it came together. We didn't know what that team was. We didn't know what it was going to be. And as we look back on it, we realized it was a flawed roster. We knew what that Warriors team was. We knew exactly the type of situation he was walking into, and we knew he was the second best player on the face of this God's green earth. And so it was like no secret, okay, they're going to sweep their way onto the finals. This is going to be easy pickings. There's no doubt about it. You can officially say the 2016, 2017 Warriors team, or sorry, maybe I got it wrong, 2017, whatever. They're going to be the champion that year. They're going to be the champion the next 2 years. It doesn't matter as long as Kevin Durant is on that same roster that has 3 other Hall of Famers. Who's stopping them?
Yeah. And like I said, even arguably, the Raptors wouldn't have stopped them with Kevin Durant had he been healthy, right? And unfortunately, they rushed Kevin Durant back. And I had figured, like, hey, that looks more like Achilles, not so much like an ankle sprain or whatever the heck they said, his heel or something like that. But there was evidence that they would have won that championship had Kevin Durant been in the entire time, right? Like I said, he had scored a point for basically every minute that he was in that game that he tore his Achilles. And the game, they were starting to pull away with it. Like, they started to develop a pretty good lead, and then their lead slipped away after that gruesome injury, right? But yeah, I still think that Kevin Durant, he got a good jab in on Kendrick Perkins, but the entire world knows, like, nobody's going to remember Kendrick Perkins' stats from that OKC game, right? Like, or that OKC series. Everybody's going to remember Kevin Durant pulling that weak move, going to a team that had just beat him the year before.
I'll end this like talking point on this and just say all it takes is one trophy for another team not named Golden State for Kevin Durant to save his reputation. If he wins a title in Brooklyn or somewhere else, maybe he goes back to OKC to end his career and wins one there. Who knows? All of this will go away. He can live comfortably. You just got to stay off the Twitter. Hey, I'll take his social media habits over AB's any day.